I was drowning in $43,000 of debt, staring at my bank statement at 3 a.m. while my girlfriend slept in the other room, the relationship barely holding on. My hands actually shook when the credit card declined at dinner that night. Everyone watching. That was the moment. Today, that same banking app shows $870,000. Not from a promotion, not from inheritance, but from one principal Wall Street executives actively hide from men like us because it eliminates their fee structures completely. It's called the 1% rule, and in the next few minutes, I'll show you how it silently transformed everything while the financial industry prayed you'd never discover it. But here's why 97% of men will hear this information and still fail to implement it. Our brains are literally wired against gradual success. The psychological barriers are hard-coded into us. First, we have novelty bias. Our dopamine receptors light up for new opportunities, not consistent actions. Second, visibility comfort. We need to see results to stay motivated, but early compound growth is nearly invisible. Third, social comparison. When your coworker makes $30,000 on a lucky stock pick, your consistent 1% feels inadequate. Fourth, delayed gratification fatigue. Our brains physically drain glucose when resisting immediate rewards. Fifth, goal gradient effect. Motivation peaks near the finish line, not during the critical middle phase where most wealth is built. Consider Warren Buffett. Everyone celebrates him as a genius investor, but what they miss is his true superpower: consistency and compounding. At age 11, Buffett bought his first stock, 3 shares of Citi's Service Preferred for $38 each. Throughout his teens, he delivered newspapers, making $175 monthly, saving every possible dollar. By 26, his net worth was just $140,000, nothing extraordinary. For perspective, he made 99% of his wealth after age 50, not from brilliant stock picks, but from allowing compound interest to work year after year. Buffett faced multiple market crashes, including Black Monday in 1987 when he lost $347 million in a single day. Instead of panic selling, he doubled down on his 1% approach. He famously lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500, drives modest cars, and eats McDonald's for breakfast, avoiding the lifestyle inflation that devastates compound growth. His secret was never flashes of genius, but the persistence to let math work in his favor. Or look at Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. She didn't start with connections or capital. She was selling fax machines door to door, facing daily rejection. With just $5,000 in savings, she couldn't afford patent attorneys, so she taught herself patent law at the local library, spending nights and weekends making 1% improvements to her knowledge. For 2 years, manufacturers laughed her out of meetings. One even called her crazy. Her prototype development wasn't a breakthrough moment, but endless small iterations. Cutting the feed off pantyhose, testing fabrics, making minute adjustments. When Target finally agreed to carry her product, she couldn't afford marketing, so she stood in stores on weekends, talking to customers one by one. Each conversation, each small refinement to her pitch represented that 1% improvement. 15 years later, she became America's youngest self-made female billionaire. Not through a viral moment, but through thousands of tiny improvements that competitors weren't patient enough to make. The statistics are alarming. 71% of men over 50 admit they can't retire in the next decade. 43% have less than $100,000 saved. And 68% cite waiting for the right opportunity as their investment strategy. These patterns create the 3 wealth enemies every man faces. First, impatience. That voice telling you this isn't working 3 weeks in when you followed the exact system that built every fortune in history. Second, inconsistency. Missing opportunities because just this once becomes your standard excuse. And third, invisible financial leaks. The subscription services, convenience purchases, and unnecessary fees silently eroding your wealth foundation before it can compound. The 1% rule conquers all 3, but only if you recognize the psychological traps first. How many times have you told yourself you'll start investing or saving when you have more money? That thought pattern is the exact reason most men never build wealth. Here's exactly how I applied the 1% rule across the 5 wealth pillars, with specific results you can replicate starting today. First, expense optimization. I identified my highest expense categories and systematically reduced them by just 1% weekly. For cell phones, I called on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m., right before closing when retention agents need to hit quotas, and use this exact script. I've been looking at my budget and noticed T-Mobile is offering a similar plan for $65 less. I'd prefer to stay with Verizon, but this price difference is significant. What can you do to help me keep my loyalty with your service? That single 6-minute call saved me $42 monthly. For insurance, I bundled my auto and homeowners policies with Progressive, then requested a $1,000 higher deductible with the monthly savings invested, reducing premiums by 18%. The meal prep strategy focused on preparing just protein portions twice weekly, specifically chicken thighs and ground beef in bulk, cutting food expenses by $280 monthly without sacrificing nutrition quality. Second, income acceleration. Instead of chasing job-hopping salary bumps, I increased my value at work by 1% weekly through targeted skill acquisition. Based on LinkedIn's 2024 skills report and salary data from Glassdoor, the highest ROI skills are SQL database management, average salary premium of 28% across industries; data visualization with Tableau or Power BI, 22% premium; API integration knowledge, 31% premium for technical roles; automated marketing platform expertise, 27% premium for marketing positions; and financial modeling in Excel, 19% premium for business roles. I spent 20 minutes daily on LinkedIn learning mastering SQL, then volunteered for the quarterly sales analysis project nobody wanted. Within 7 months, I leveraged this new skill set for a 23% raise, without changing employers. Third, debt elimination. I applied the Debt Snowball 2.0 method, which improves on Dave Ramsey's approach with this formula. Minimum payment times, 1 plus 0.01 times n, where n is the number of months you've been paying. This created an automatic 1% escalation monthly that my budget never felt. For my $18,400 Chase Sapphire credit card at 22.9% interest, this reduced the payoff timeline from 6.2 years to 2.8 years, saving $9,214 in interest. The key psychological advantage? The increases were so gradual my spending habits adjusted automatically without willpower. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too simple, and that's exactly why it works when flashier strategies fail. So, sit back and watch this video till the end. Fourth, strategic automation. I implemented a 3-tiered automatic transfer system using Ally Bank's recurring transfer feature. The first automatic transfer moves 1% of income to investments on payday. The second transfer increases that percentage by 0.25% every 30 days. Settings found under Recurring Transfers, Schedule, Frequency Options. The third automation rebalances investments quarterly through Betterment's Auto Rebalance feature. This creates perfect consistency while removing decision fatigue entirely. Within 14 months, my investment percentage grew from 4% to 11% without lifestyle impact. Fifth, leveraged learning. I dedicated 1% of each day, 14 minutes, to financial education using this exact schedule. 5 minutes on current financial trends via the Morning Brew newsletter, 5 minutes studying one specific wealth concept from books like Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money or Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and 4 minutes reviewing my personal capital dashboard to identify optimization opportunities. This compound knowledge unlocked opportunities like tax loss harvesting and the Chase Trifecta credit card reward optimization that added $8,400 annually to my bottom line. The most powerful realization? Each of these individual improvements felt insignificant, but their interaction created multiplication, not addition. The expense optimization freed capital for investment. The income acceleration increased the baseline for percentage-based savings. The debt elimination improved credit score, lowering all borrowing costs. And by month 8, right here on the visualization, the compound effect becomes undeniable. But here's what nobody tells you. It's not really about the number, it's about harnessing the power of marginal gains and invisible compounding. This concept revolutionized British cycling when coach Dave Brailsford implemented what he called the aggregation of marginal gains. He didn't demand massive improvements from his athletes. Instead, he found 1% improvements in overlooked areas, testing different massage gels for faster muscle recovery, teaching riders the optimal hand-washing technique to prevent illness, and even bringing their own pillows to hotels for consistent sleep quality. People laughed, until they dominated the Tour de France and Olympic cycling for a decade straight. The principle wasn't about cycling, it was about compound mathematics applied to performance. The unexpected breakthrough came when I realized this. Success isn't determined by dramatic changes, but by breaking improvement into pieces so small your brain doesn't activate resistance. Instead of saying, I need to save 20% of my income, which creates immediate psychological pushback, I automated a 1% savings increase monthly. When I analyzed my subscription services, I didn't cancel Netflix and create deprivation. I downgraded from the 4K plan to HD, saving $60 annually without feeling the difference. I didn't overhaul my entire diet. I simply replaced soda with water at lunch 3 days weekly, saving $624 annually while consuming 46,800 fewer calories. The second revelation came when I mapped my finances on this matrix. High impact/low effort. Automated 401k contribution increases, 0.5% monthly. Credit card autopay at 105% of minimum payment. Tax loss harvesting, 15-minute annual review. High impact/high effort. Career change or promotion. Real estate investment. Starting a business. Low impact/low effort. Extreme coupon clipping. Micro savings apps with small returns. Minor budget adjustments without systemic change. Low impact/high effort. Day trading without expertise. Chasing credit card rewards without strategy. DIY home repairs beyond your skill level. Most men focus on high impact/high effort, but the real wealth accelerator is in high impact/low effort. These 1% improvements that fly under your brain's radar. The third revelation was discovering financial blind spots, expenses, inefficiencies, and opportunities one couldn't see until I started tracking 1% improvements daily. For example, banking fee structure inefficiencies. Average cost $347 annually through maintenance fees, ATM charges, and minimum balance fees. Unclaimed employer matching. 25% of men leave an average of $1,842 in 401k matching on the table annually by not maximizing contributions. Insurance policy overlap. Paying for duplicate coverage costs an average of $912 annually through redundant policies, especially in auto, travel, and equipment protection. Forgotten subscriptions. The average man pays $573 annually for digital services they no longer use or need. Tax-advantaged account underutilization. Not maximizing HSA, FSA, and 529 contributions costs the average professional $3,400 annually in tax advantages. Invisible banking interest spread. Keeping emergency funds in accounts paying 0.01% versus high-yield savings at 4.5% costs an average of $1,125 annually on a standard emergency fund. Investment expense ratios. The difference between a 0.03% index fund and a 1.2% actively managed fund costs $11,700 over a 10-year period on a $100,000 portfolio, despite nearly identical performance. The transition from intellectually grasping these concepts to emotionally embracing them came through tracking. By measuring the actual impact of these 1% changes weekly, seeing the numbers in my own accounts rather than theoretical calculations, the resistance faded. My brain shifted from viewing these as sacrifices to seeing them as mathematical certainties. The question wasn't if the 1% rule would work, but how anyone could succeed without it. Now that you understand why the 1% rule works psychologically, let me show you exactly how to implement it in your life starting today. Step 1. The Financial X-ray. This assessment identifies your 5 largest wealth-building opportunities across 6 categories: fixed expenses, variable spending, debt structure, income streams, investment allocation, and tax optimization. For each category, calculate your efficiency ratio using this formula. Actual cost divided by optimal cost times 100. A score above 120 in any category identifies your highest leverage opportunities. The insight summary then ranks these opportunities by implementation ease and financial impact, creating your personalized 1% roadmap. Step 2. The 30-day compound challenge. This 4-week system builds momentum through progressive action. Week 1. Expense audit. Review 3 months of statements and identify the 3 recurring expenses with the worst value-to-cost ratio. Contact each provider using the negotiation script, aiming for a minimum 10% reduction. Track daily spending to establish your baseline. Week 2, income layer. Identify one high-value skill from the ROI list that aligns with your career path. Dedicate 20 minutes daily to skill development using free resources like YouTube tutorials, LinkedIn Learning, or industry podcasts. Document your learning in a simple tracking document. Week 3, automation setup. Configure automatic transfers of 1% of your income to a high-yield savings account, such as Ally Bank or Marcus, immediately after each paycheck. Set calendar reminders to increase this percentage by 0.25% monthly for the next year. Week 4, debt optimization. List all debts from highest to lowest interest rate. Apply the Debt Snowball 2.0 formula to the highest rate debt first, automating payments to prevent decision fatigue. For credit cards, set autopay to 105% of the minimum payment as your baseline. Step 3, the Wealth Acceleration System. This creates compounding momentum through 5 linked components. First, connect all accounts to a tracking platform like Personal Capital for total visibility. Second, schedule weekly 15-minute reviews every Sunday to identify new 1% opportunities. Third, implement account stacking, where each optimized expense automatically funds investments rather than returning to your spending account. Fourth, create simple decision rules like the 1% test for purchases. Will this purchase still deliver value after 100 days? Fifth, develop progress triggers that increase savings rates after specific milestones like raises or debt elimination. The results will definitely speak for itself. The beauty of this system is that it completely bypasses willpower depletion. By creating changes so small they fly under your brain's threat detection radar, you establish new financial patterns without the psychological resistance that dooms traditional budgeting approaches. Your financial success becomes a mathematical certainty, not a test of discipline. The 1% rule works because it transforms intimidating financial mountains into manageable daily steps that compound exponentially over time. If this approach resonated with you, hit subscribe for practical strategies that build real wealth without get-rich-quick promises or extreme frugality. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway from today's video. I read every one, and it helps this content reach others who need it. Next week, I'm breaking down the millionaire's morning routine. The specific morning habits that set successful men up to make better financial decisions all day long, perfectly complementing the 1% system you've learned today. Remember, financial freedom isn't built on dramatic changes or perfect decisions. It's built on small, consistent improvements that almost no one notices until they become impossible to ignore. Next week, I'm revealing the millionaire's morning protocol, including the 11-minute cognitive priming ritual that wealthy men use to identify high-leverage financial opportunities before most people even check their first email. While the 1% rule compounds your existing wealth, this morning system creates the mental clarity to spot new wealth opportunities others miss completely. You'll see exactly how this 2-part wealth system creates the perfect cycle. The morning routine identifies the opportunities, and the 1% rule compounds them exponentially. I spent months testing different morning protocols while tracking my financial decision quality. The difference was undeniable. My investment returns jumped 31% within 90 days of implementing this specific sequence. Don't miss this. It's the critical missing component that makes the entire 1% system work twice as effectively with half the effort. Look, you can keep chasing financial home runs and be in exactly the same position 12 months from now, or you can implement the 1% rule and potentially transform your financial future. The choice is yours, but it needs to be made today. If this video delivered value to you, smash that like button right now. It tells the algorithm to share this with other men who need this information. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the morning protocol video dropping next Tuesday. This channel is committed to delivering wealth-building strategies that actually work for regular guys like us. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway from the 1% rule. I personally read every comment and respond to as many as I can. Your perspective might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. This is Wealth Mastery, where we're building financial freedom 1% at a time. I'll see you in the next video.